Hey, good morning guys. It's Sunday. It's beautiful outside and I'm back here today with you guys with a few news notifications on the latest failures for Donald Trump, Agent Orange. I want to say thank you to all of my subscribers and to those people who's just visiting my channel for the first time. If you see something here that resonates with you, please consider subscribing. If you subscribe, hit the bell twice so you get all future notifications. And don't forget to give me a thumbs up, leave a comment or two, and I'll be right back with more.
I'm not suggesting anything so complicated.
Anyways, just in, federal judge in District of Columbia just ruled that Agent Orange, our president, Agent Orange, attempted to place transgender women that's in women's prison right now into men's prison is cruel and unusual punishment. And that was declared by Judge Royce Lampert, a Republican in the District of Columbia. So, are you surprised that the GOP, Michael Johnson, Marsha Green of Georgia, they're going to get plummeted along with Agent Orange? It seems to me that they really get it out for the LGBTQ community. And we all know that this is driven by the Christian universities around the country trying to set guidelines of how people can live their lives. Okay? It's horrible. These Republicans cannot see themselves walking in somebody else's shoes, okay? They can't even walk in a citizen's shoes or regular American's shoes who are struggling to make ends meet in our country. It's horrible. We're going on to the 4th week since Agent Orange's election and presidency in office, and nothing has been done about our economy. Nothing. And if you look back at his campaign, he did say that on day one, he was going to slash down the prices of gas. Groceries, a word he can't even pronounce because he never has to do groceries. And the other thing was, they made such a big deal about the egg issue, right? Well, guess what? Prices of eggs have gone up about $5, okay, in California, a state that was impacted by the horrible fires across the state from the southern coast. Instead, their first 2 weeks, you know what they do? They signed off on executive orders on eliminating people's rights, okay? Can you imagine being a trans woman or a trans man going into the wrong prison, okay? I can't imagine it, and I don't want to. So, MAGA republics, along some regular republics, do not feel that a trans woman should be in the same population as other women. Okay? Because if you listen to Marsha Green's complaint and rhetoric and nonsensical comments, if you look at this woman talking in the House of Representatives as a congresswoman, you can see right off the bat, this woman does not have much education, okay? She's disrespectful. She's closed-minded. And she's clearly Agent Orange little minions, okay? They're getting handed their ideologies on a plate from the courts. They really wanted to put trans people in the prison that they feel they're born within gender-wise without thinking about the process that they went through, the cost, the pain. Some people cannot understand what's it like for these people to go through surgeries that take up to a year to recover from. This is not something to be taken lightly, okay? First, they're born in the wrong body, and some of these young trans people go through a very, very hard ordeal dealing with public's prejudices and bullyism in schools, and getting denied employment and health care. And then that's not bad enough. So now if they got to go to court and face some kind of prison time, they're going to be put, the trans woman will be put in the male's population without any consideration to what could happen there. They could get beat up, they could get raped, they could be killed. MAGA Republicans don't care about anything or anybody but themselves. Until one of these days, either their children's children or her grandchildren decides to finally come out of the closet and say, I'm so sorry I have let you down, but I have been living a false life. I've never felt like the person that is in this body. It's not who I am. I've been pretending. I can't do it anymore. This is the reason that I've resorted to drugs and alcoholism, because I knew that my parents would not accept me. That's a reality for many trans people. They either come out and face the music, or they go through drug use, alcohol use, ridicule from society, or they go into depression, which leads to suicide. If you tell this to a Republican or a MAGA Republican, they'll say, oh, well, that's what you chose. There's no choice there. It's not a choice. It's a decision. It's a calculated decision with a lot of risks involved. The risks are they could lose their family, they can lose their jobs, they can lose their friends, because their family and their friends have known them all their lives as a heterosexual male or female, and that trans person went through things that you will never know, okay? That you will never know. Instead, the Republicans want to ride the Christian upbringing and force people into that life because to them this is the way it ought to be. This is perfection. This is the way God intended you to be. Let me tell you something. This has nothing to do with religion or politics. None of it has nothing to do with religion or politics. The only discord was because they know they can ride on these personal issues in debates and campaigns, and they know that they're going to strike a chord with those groups of people that will see eye to eye with them. All that for a minority group, okay, that's only 1% of the population. They're going to go ahead and drag them through the dirt. And because maybe 9 or 10 college athletes decided to get involved in sports, and these girls now who were coerced into going before the media to tell them, oh, how awful it is that Joanne, who used to be John, is now beating me in swimming. Really. What a diversion this whole thing is. They use these excuses to divert you from becoming a Democrat or voting Democrat or even independent. Okay? I have a lot of Republican friends. Okay? I used to be a Republican. Okay? And after many years of seeing how things are, how close-minded they are, how much lying that they do, and how much smokescreen they use to divert your attention for what they're doing behind closed doors. Look what happened this past week. They blocked Democrats. They blocked congresswomen and congressmen from going into the Department of Education because they had questions. So what did they do? They gathered and they had a friendly connection with the media and the person who claimed to be guarding the entrance to the Department of Education. Okay, they blocked it. Why? Why? The other thing I want to talk about is Americans tend to forget. Not all Americans. Americans tend to forget who Agent Orange is. Agent Orange is President Donald Trump. Let me remind you, Agent Orange is Donald Trump. I'm going to tell you a quick little story about what happened. In the early 70s, Donald Trump worked very closely with his father in real estate, commercial property, residential property, skyscrapers, buildings. Him and his father built and owned some rental properties in New York. When the properties were built and ready for rental, he had no idea that he was going to get African American and Latino American wanting to live in some of his properties. If you look at the documentary for Agent Orange, you'll see that he had to go to court because these Americans were denied residency in his homes. They took him to court and they won. They sued. Because point blank, he didn't want any niggers or spics in his communities. Today, you have some African Americans and Latinos, like the Venezuelans, that voted for Agent Orange in the first term and second term. These same Venezuelans make up of 350,000 voters in just Florida alone. Because they supported him, they believed in him. They believed everything that he said, which now they're finding out is a big lie. Because these Venezuelans that are naturalized citizens, okay, were being rounded up and sent back to Venezuela to face the music of their government. What's it going to take for you people to know that who you got in office is a criminal? Is a criminal. Like I said, till this day, today's Sunday, almost 4 weeks ago, and while he was campaigning, he ran on the grounds of blocking certain people from doing certain things. The immigrants, Mexican border. And talking about the Mexican border, all along he's been saying that he's going to get Mexico to put 10,000 troops at the border. But Mexico had 15,000 troops at the border back in 2019. They're still there today. And you know what Agent Orange did? He got the credit for what Mexico was already doing. Okay? And when he was told that they already have 15,000 Mexican soldiers at the border, he never told Americans this. Why? Why? And just for added assurance, Mexico put an additional 10,000 soldiers to assist Americans at the Mexican border to control the influx of illegals and the deadly drug that we have in this country of fentanyl. These are the things that this president does. He creates a problem, okay? And then he creates a solution. Then he goes in front of the media and says, I fixed it. Okay? So, now to the next issue. This is something that happened in the around the mid to late 90s. I want to talk about what happened in the late 80s in Manhattan, in New York, in Central Park. You're probably saying to yourself, well, what has this got to do with Donald Trump? I'm just going to illustrate to you the kind of person Agent Orange is, President Trump. What kind of human being he is. I just explained to you what he did to these Latin and African people in New York that wanted to rent his homes in New York to live, and he denied them based on the color of their skin and their nationality. Well, the Central Park Five, right, they were accused of assaulting and raping Tricia Miley. She was called the Central Park Jogger. She was raped, violated, she was beat up and assaulted. And back in those days, New York had a big problem with drugs and crimes, and there was a lot of racial profiling going on in New York. So these originally 6 people were charged with her rape and assault. They were imprisoned between 7 and 13 years, but they let one guy go who pleaded guilty to a different crime. But the Central Park Five, Stephen Lopez, Antron McCray, Kevin Richardson, Yusuf Salam, Raymond Santana, and Corey Wise were imprisoned for 7 to 10 years. So in those years, I'm going to talk about the Central Park jogger, Tricia Miley. Miley was jogging through Central Park, okay? And it was April 19, 1989. She was attacked, beat up, assaulted, and raped. So at that time, New York was going through a big crisis in crime, crack cocaine use, which, by the way, the Bush administration infiltrated into New York, and which caused a crack epidemic, by the way. And 6 teenagers were accused of beating up Mrs. Miley and ultimately raping her. So Stephen Lopez was one of the six. He was not charged with a rape because he pleaded guilty to a different crime and he was serving time for that crime. But Antron McCrae, Kevin Richardson, Yusuf Salam, and Raymond Santana and Corey Wise were charged with the crime, and they each got between 7 years to 10 years incarceration, okay, because it was thought that they committed it based on where they were and the timelines. And 10 years after the crime happened, there was a serial rapist going around in the New York area and Central Park committing these rapes, okay? But instead, they charged these 5 people, the Central Park 5, okay? In 1989, serial rapist Matthias Reis confessed to the Miley rape and assault. And later on, the DNA that they had on file confirmed it, that he was the one that raped Tricia Miley. They had the DNA stored in their possession, and they also got the confession from an ex-cellmate that was in jail with Mr. Reis, and subsequently they dropped the cases and the court filings against the Central Park 5. And in 2014, Manhattan, New York, settled with these people, these kids, not kids anymore, that were held in court when they didn't do these crimes. And they settled for $41 million, okay? And you know what? You know what Donald Trump said back then when he was a young guy? He said, don't pay any one of them a dime. That's what he said. After these 5 Hispanics and African Americans and some white Americans were held in prison between 7 and 10 years of their lives, Donald Trump boldly stood up and says, don't pay them a dime. Okay, can you imagine that? That's the guy that these MAGA Republicans got in office. That's the kind of guy he is. He's not a good person, but yet here he is. He's our president, Agent Orange. Agent Orange. So while Agent Orange and his vice president, the one that belittled him throughout his own campaign, that he would never run with Donald Trump because he's a criminal. This is coming from J.D. Lance, whatever his name is, right? It's right on video saying that Donald Trump is a criminal, he's not a good person, but yet, he kneeled down to kiss his ass to become vice president. That's how the MAGA Republicans work, by the way. The whole weird thing is this. They defamed Kamala Harris. They tried like hell not to let a multi-biracial woman become president because she's black or she's Indian. She might have some Caucasian in her or Hispanic, whatever. And they tried like hell to defame her. They got dirt on her. And she was actually picked by the Democrats to run basically last minute because Biden doesn't have the capacity to do another 4-year term. And yet, the vice president of Agent Orange is is an Indian woman. J.D. Vance's wife is Indian. And it's a complex web. It's confusing. I mean, is Agent Orange gonna finally put down his vice president's wife? Like he did Ed Cruz? Ed Cruz's wife is also an Indian, I guess. And I don't know. That's what you get when you vote for the orange clown. Yep. These are the guys that stood there in front of that Christian pastor a couple of weeks ago, pleading with Agent Orange, President Agent Orange, to not do what he's doing against the immigrants, minorities, the LGBT community, to not be so difficult with these people. They're going through enough already. And if you looked at their faces that were sitting there listening to the sermon, they looked disgusted. They were angry with her. And if you see J.D. Vance's face and demeanor, his facial expressions will tell you everything you want to know. Anyways, this is what I want to talk about. And these are the people in the White House and in government that have the most people in both houses, the houses of Representatives and in our Senate, that's running things here. They're the ones that's firing people left and right and making our travels unsafe with our airlines and putting a stop payment on all these programs that are beneficial, which is not a waste, by the way. Serving our communities and our veterans, shortchanging them. And these are the people that voted for Donald Trump. I know that there are a lot of Republicans and MAGA Republicans that are finding out the hard way, but we need them all to find out what's going on and how this Agent Orange president lied to them just so he can get in office and destroy our Constitution, or attempt it to anyways. But as you can see, the federal courts are shooting down all their executive orders. Not all, but it's going to get there. And as it happens, more people that voted for him will see how they were deceived. But anyways, I've said enough for right now. And I'm sure I'll be back on here this week to talk more about this. And I'm going to keep reading and I'm going to keep following up on the latest news for you guys. So I'll talk to you guys soon. If you guys have not subscribed, please do so. If you guys see something here that resonates with you, give me a thumbs up, leave a comment or two. And I appreciate it. I'll talk to you guys very soon.
Can't you get it through your thick skull that I'm broke? Dead, flat, stony broke. See? I've got $3.85 in my purse.